Chanjo pardon dani ngebzo chi dagi chuche yebe zunam ge ndola benjira sangi sa je bege choje le do jam ge za benje ni de yan ba de sange shin do mi de ru ge nam da shin la je ba ra jo ye da mam go ro na nam da la da so today is the last day for our dependent origination teaching, and it so happens to be the day that Lord Buddha gave his first teaching, the first Dharma sermon, first Dharma discourse, which was on the topic of Four Noble Truths in sadhana of today's Varanasi. So therefore, it is such an auspicious occasion, and in order to commemorate that, we will recite the Heart Sutra, or the mantra of the Prajnaparamita mantra, the mantra of wisdom, because the heart, the core of Buddha's teaching, lies in the wisdom, in cultivating wisdom. Because only through cultivating wisdom, one will be able to cut the ties with samsara. So therefore, we will, in order to bless our mental continuum, of course, the actual hard work should be done by studying, done by contemplating, done by meditating and others. But reciting mantras and reciting sutras, and therefore all these so-called external forms of dharma will be very strong supplements. So okay, so without further ado, Masami Jume Shera Paju Jim Maye Maigan Ye Mo So Geshe Zum Yeve Yumla Chaze. So those of you who know the mantra, recite together. Dea Dang Gade Parangade Parasambade Bodi So Ha Dea Dang Gade Parangade Parasambade Bodi So Dea Dang Gade Parangade Parasambade Bodi So Ha Dea Dang Gade Parangade Parasambade Bodi So Dea Dang Gade Parangade Parasambade Bodi So Ha Dea Dang Gade Parangade Parasambade Bodi So Ha Giri Tonra Giju Shiva Dang Giri Nuve Kendan Chao Jinpa Zhujian Pyozum Zhujian Zhaxi Tejang Tenden Dege Shu. So now we will go to the teaching called the praise to the dependent origination, or the praise to the one who spoke dependent origination, and so this is a praise made to Lord Buddha for imparting the knowledge of emptiness based on dependent origination, or you might also say dependent origination based on emptiness. So you can say it both ways. If you remember our previous classes, we talk about dependent origination being accepted by all Buddhist schools, as well as emptiness being accepted by all Buddhist schools as well. But the depth of the profundity of emptiness or dependent origination varies from school to school. So even, for example, like the lowest or the lowest of the four Buddhist philosophical schools, such as Rinpoche, which a large portion of which were made up of non-Buddhist deserters or people who were previously inspired by non-Buddhist traditions, and then later through philosophical debates, through philosophical defeats, and many other factors, they chose Buddhism. Anyway, so even in the Vaibhashik school, they accept the emptiness. They also accept the theory of emptiness as well as dependent origination. But the way a Vaibhashik school accepts dependent origination and the notion of dependent origination and emptiness that is accepted by Vaibhashika school, the lowest, and then the Madhyamika school, especially the Prasangika Madhyamika school, the highest, varies dramatically. And so therefore, we are praising Lama Tsongkapa here. The author of this book is praising Buddha Shakyamuni for imparting this dependent origination, praise for the dependent origination, which is based on emptiness. So when we say dependent origination based on emptiness, then this dependent origination is the deepest or the most profound form of dependent origination, because the general form of understanding of dependent origination is that from good causes comes bad effects. From this cause comes that. So this is very simple understanding of dependent origination, and that is a notion of dependent origination accepted by all. But when you talk about dependent origination based on emptiness, this is a more profound form of dependent origination, and that is not subscribed by all Buddhist school. And the same goes with emptiness. Like there's the talk of the four seals of the Buddha, the four seals, the four noble seals, you might say. That all things are all incorporated things are impermanent, and so the so I don't remember the exact wordings in Tibetan. So there are four seals. Of the four seals, the third is known as that all dharmas or all phenomena are empty, or are empty of naturally existing, or empty, have the essence of emptiness. In that case, in that understanding, with Vaibhashika schools, all forms of Buddhists, they do accept the notion of emptiness, but their understanding of emptiness is much further from the actual understanding of emptiness as per the Madhyamika view, or especially that of the Prasangika view. And so therefore, emptiness or dependent origin, understanding of dependent origination based on emptiness is the highest form of understanding of dependent origination, the farthest you can go. So Buddha Shakyamuni was praised for imparting this by Lama Tsongkapa. And so we are going to chapter number 41. We finished up to chapter number 40, and now it is chapter number 41. So chapter number 41 is talking about the hardship that Lord Buddha underwent in order to attain such qualities, such qualitative speech. And so the direct cause of Buddha's, the direct cause, when we talk about cause, there are two types of causes: enlightened causes and unenlightened causes. The unenlightened causes comes from the time when Buddha was not a Buddha yet. So when he was an ordinary person, he worked hard. He underwent all the penances and did all the meditation and met all the sacrifices, and then he became a Buddha. So this is called, all these are called the all these forms of causes are known as unenlightened causes. And so Buddha's activities comes, everything has all incorporated phenomena has a cause, comes from a cause. And all the Buddha's activities, all the Buddha's enlightened activities comes from two sets of causes, enlightened causes and unenlightened causes. Unenlightened causes means all the causes that were incorporated or accumulated before he became a Buddha. And the enlightened causes means the direct causes of his immediate activities. For example, when Buddha spoke, when Buddha taught, after becoming enlightened, so we know from history that Buddha didn't teach for 49 days. After becoming enlightened, he found out that there was nobody who could understand. In a way, it is true. There are people, for example, people such as the five foremost disciples of the Buddha were there. Even if he wished to teach that very day or that very moment, he could have just appeared in front of them and could have taught them. But in order to, he didn't do so. He went there. He went in search of, he went to Varanasi on foot, and he met his previous disciples who actually abandoned him, and then gathered them up, and then he taught them the Four Noble Truths. After 49 days or after enlightenment. If he wishes to do it immediately, he could have done that. He didn't need to waste time. But there was a reason why he did so, why he waited 7 weeks. So this, one of the reasons is that it is to show, we usually say, this is it is passed down from lineage to lineage. So our teachers always say this is the reason is to which means to to exhibit or to expose, to show the qualities of to show the quality, to pinpoint, to point out the qualities of the Dharma, to point out the rarity of the Dharma, to point out the scarcity of the Dharma, to point out the profundity of the Dharma, to point out the preciousness of the Dharma. So these are the reasons why Buddha didn't teach. And when he finally teach, it has to be, he taught only after being requested. So even though it is not from a historical point of view, there was no such thing, but from the mythological point of view, he was requested by the king of gods, and the god of gods, Brahma and Indra and Brahma. Brahma is the god of gods, and Indra is the king of gods, or you might say the god of the heavenly realm and the king of the heavenly realm. And so they came and they offered the conch, and they offered the conch, white conch, and they offered the Brahma offered the white conch, and Indra offered the wheel spoke, the wheel of the Dharma, as we see. It's evident all over the world now. So they offered. This is the mythological narrative. So they offered this to the Buddha, and then Buddha taught the Four Noble, start teaching Four Noble Truths, not to the kings directly, because they couldn't have, not to the God of gods and the king of gods, but he has to find someone who could comprehend what he is about to teach, and that happens to be the five foremost disciples for Madhusambhu. And so another thing, therefore, normally as a Buddhist teaching, it has to be for a traditionally Buddhist teacher will teach only if he is requested to teach. So there is a line which says "Masyo or Michao." If not requested, don't do it. So you are not supposed. So in Buddhism, it's very strictly spoken, very strictly lined out in the Dharma that one must not propagate the Dharma, propagate in the sense of like converting people and promulgation. Propaganda is not encouraged. Actually, it's discouraged in the Dharma. So Maso or Michao, if nobody asks you to teach, don't teach them. If somebody asks you to teach, then you must not decline, unless that person is not worthy of such teachings, which Buddha did for 49 days, he did not teach. And so that is also one of the reasons why, unlike many other traditions in Tibetan Buddhism, the Lamas have very high throne to teach. When they teach, they sit on a very high throne. So you have to understand that this was in India, they don't have that high sort of elevated throne. It's quite high, but not that high. So the understanding here is that this is not just to elevate the teacher who is pronouncing, if you like, the sacred Dharma, but actually to pay obeisance, to pay homage, and to pay respect, to respect the Dharma that is promulgated by the Lama, the teacher. And so that is the reason why the teacher will prostrate to the Dharma throne first, and then he will sit there. So, so this is, even though so nowadays there's this misunderstanding that people think, okay, the throne is for the Lama. In a sense, the throne is for the Lama, but traditionally the throne is not for the Lama. Actually, the throne is for the Dharma, for which the Lama is a medium. And so by elevating the medium, the speaker, which is the medium, you are actually elevating the Dharma. You are elevating the speaker of the speaker. And when we, this is also noticeable in the decoration of our the Buddhist altar. So we have usually we say Go Song Tuk, right, which is body, speech, and mind. Right, Go Song Tuk. That is how Tibetan we say it. That's how we say it in Tibetan. Go Song Tuk, body, speech, and mind. Body is represented by the statue, mind is represented by the stupa, and the statue, the speech is represented by the scriptures. But when we place them, we place the scripture on the top level, and below the scripture we put the body, which is the statue. The speech we put first on top. Speech is represented by the scriptures, and second we put the ku, that is the body, which is represented by the statues or the images, tanga, whatever. And then kind of like on the same sort of line, but maybe a little bit lower than the on the same altar, but the statue will sit on a sort of elevated spot, and the stupa will sit a little bit lower than the statue. So it can be on the either right or left of the statue. So that's so that by respecting. So that's how we pay respect to the speech, which is the actual liberator. You will remember from Buddha's own words where he says, the Buddhas, the Munis, the Tupa, right? The Munis, Shakyamuni. So this is a lineage. Muni is a lineage. So the Munis will not cleanse. The Munis will not cleanse your impurities, and will not remove your sins with their hands. And they cannot also replace their understanding and realization with your ignorance. And so the realizations of the Buddhas cannot be replaced or exchanged with you. By showing, by exposing to the truth of Dharma Dhatu, by exposing to the truth of phenomena, you will be liberated. So the exposition of the truth is known as the Dharma. So this has been going on for quite some time. So let's get to this teaching. So the first line is talking about how much the Buddha sacrificed in order to gain this speech. So yeah, we are talking the subject. The reason we digressed from this is I digressed from the subject is we are talking about the two causes, the enlightened causes and unenlightened causes of the Buddha's speech. So the unenlightened causes are all the unenlightened, all the sacrifices that you have made, all the meditation, all the accumulation of merit that you have put as an unenlightened being. Now the second one, which is the enlightened cause of Buddha's speech, is the enlightened cause of the Buddha's speech is the Namkhen, the omniscient mind. So the omniscient mind perceives the truth, and then the mouth or from the lips of the Buddha comes the truth. So the omniscient, the mind perceives the truth, and the lips read out the truth. So the immediate cause of the Buddha's speech is the enlightened. The immediate cause or the enlightened cause of Buddha's speech is actually the omniscient mind of the Buddha, Namkhen. So in order to gain that, for its sake, so it here refers to the speech, for its sake, and in order to gain the speech, you have to gain the enlightened mind. And so for its sake, you have given away again and again over countless eons, sometimes your body, at others your life, as well as your loving kin and resources of wealth. So this here, if you remember, there's a place called in Tibetan we say Tamul Riji, which means giving body to the tigress, and it's in Nepal, in present-day Nepal, and they call it Nama Buddha. So this is where the Buddha sacrificed his in one of his what we call impure lifetimes. So after generating bodhicitta for the first time, Buddha made 1,000 rebirths as a bodhisattva. Bodhisattva in the pure form and impure form. Pure forms are in rich merchants, kings, noblemen, like that. And the impure are like in animals, beggars and things like that. So in one of his impure lives, one of his noble lives, one of his pure life or noble lives, he actually sacrificed his body to the tigress, and that's how. So this is a reference to that. And in many other cases, when he offered the body, he also offered his life as well. So sometimes your body, at others your life, as well as your loving kin and resources of wealth. So Buddha made such and such. So Buddha made these sacrifices for the sake of sentient beings. Now, seeing the qualities of this teaching pulls hard from your heart, just like what a hook does to a fish. Said it is not to have heard it from you. So this is Lama Tsongkapa lamenting the fact that he was not able to meet the Buddha directly, even though Buddha's teaching is such profound and has so many qualities. It is such a Lama Tsongkapa is lamenting the fact that he was not able to meet the Buddha in person. not being able to see the Buddha in person, to receive the teachings from him directly. And so the intensity of that sorrow, the sorrow of not being able to have heard it directly from you. So in line 42, verse 42, Lama Tsongkapa is saying that just as a fish is hooked to a fish is drawn towards a hook, because the hook actually has a bait, right? So so just like a fish is drawn to the hook, the qualities of Buddha's teaching actually pulls Lama Tsongkapa, draws Lama Tsongkapa towards following his footsteps, Buddha Shakyamuni's footsteps. But it's such a sad thing that he's not able to. So it's like he could see the fish from afar, but when he goes near the fish, when he goes to near the hook, there is no worm or there's no bait, in a sense. So he's actually talking about, he's lamenting the fact that he was not able to meet the Buddha in person. So this is also one way of showing Lama Tsongkapa's humility. If you remember the story, so there was a story that Lama Tsongkapa actually was there in Buddha's time as one of his Nyingtu, the Shavakas, the hearers, the followers, and then he actually offered Lord Buddha one rosary made out of crystal, and he offered Buddha Shakyamuni a crystal clear mala, and that actually made a lot of dendel, it actually put forth a lot of positive imprints were implanted, and and one thing spiraled into other, and then that's how Lama Tsongkapa became Rinpoche, and so on and so forth. So this is verse number 42. He's referring to the fact that he was not able to meet the Buddha in person. So the intensity of that sorrow of not being able to see the Buddha in person grows, does not let go of my mind. Just like the mind of a mother constantly goes after her dear child. So he is also here. He's referring to the fact that how endearing the Buddha Dharma, Buddha's teaching is to him. It is as the only dear child of a mother. So mothers, of course, always have love for their children. But if you are the only child, the mother's love for that only child knows no boundary. So this is what he is referring to. And also when he says, no, the second line does not let go of my mind. This is also showing the we call the, in the six perfections there is the effort. So effort in the Tibetan word for effort is zunju, and it is not being not lacking in perseverance. That is also one of the understanding of zunju, or making effort. So so here Lama Tsongkapa is talking about resilience. So 44 and 45 here too, as I reflect on your words, I think, blazing with the glory of noble marks and the hallowed net of light rays, this teacher, in a voice of pristine melody, spoke thus in such a way. The instant such a reflection of the sage's form appears in my mind, it soothes me, just as the moon rays heal fevers pains. So 44 to 45, this verse actually talks about, we have the 4 recollections, Lama Temple, Sangye Temple, Chue Chesu Temple, Lama Chesu Temple, Sangye Chesu Temple, recollection of the Guru, recollection of the Buddha, recollection of the Dharma, and so on and so forth. So this is a way of recollecting the Buddha. And you recollect the Buddha by recollecting his pristine qualities. And here he is recollecting the Buddha's pristine body and the qualities of the Buddha's enlightened body and enlightened body and enlightened speech. So blazing with the glory of noble marks. So this is a reference to the 80 major marks and 32 major marks and 80 32 major marks and 80 minor signs. So this is a reference which is sort of a exclusive quality of the Buddha, not exclusively to the Buddha. Even Chakravartis, the Buddhas, or the kings of the 4 world, they also possess this quality. But this is where the difference lies. Even though, from a physical point of view, even the Chakravartin kings, the king of the 4 worlds, has these qualities, but they don't have the pristine mind as that of the Buddha, and so there lies there rests the qualities of the Chakravartin king, the king of 4 worlds. But the Buddha's qualities surpass them. So the noble, blazing the line 2 of verse number 44, blazing with the glory of noble marks. This is a reference to the Buddha's significance of the Buddha's body. And hallowed in a net of light rays, this teacher in a voice of pristine melody. Now this is so this is the reference to the Buddha's the quality of Buddha's speech. And usually we call that in Tibetan Song Changbe Yang, the pristine melody of Brahma. And I think this came from the Hindu tradition of Brahma being the perfected, the perfect being, or the perfect human, or since Brahma is the creator of the whole world. So being Brahma or Brahmic means Brahma has a number of connotation. It could mean straightforward. It could mean, so I think this is where it comes from. The pristine part of it, aspect of melody, comes from the way Brahma, the connotation of Brahma, the word Brahma has a connotation of being straightforward, and from this comes the word pristine. Because so there are two ways of understanding Brahma. One is that he was there from beginningless, and the other is that he became a Brahma. And when you understand from this point of view, it is that one becomes a Brahma. So you can talk about individual Brahma, like becoming a Brahma, like we talk about individual Buddhas, right? I become a Buddha, you become a Buddha, we all become Buddha at one time. Then we can talk about Buddha in general, Buddhas in general, and individual Buddhas. Similarly, in the non-Buddhist tradition, we can talk about Brahma in general, more like a God, sort of a universal sort of Brahma. And then you can talk about my Brahma, me becoming into a Brahma, me realizing my Brahmanness. So this is similar to me realizing me uncovering my Buddhahood, also known as Buddha nature. So in that sense, one becomes a Brahma by observing strict forms of discipline, not lying, abstaining from harming others, and many other things. So very similar to Buddhism as well. So when you observe those disciplines, then by strictly observing those disciplines, you are very straightforward, and but because of that, because you observed straightforwardness during your processing. So when you are processed at the end, when you become a Buddha, when you become a Brahma, you are pristine. So that is the understanding of the pristine melody or Brahmanic melody. So I think the translator thought very much, put a lot of thought before putting the word pristine instead of the Tibetan word Tsongkapa, which means Brahma. So spoke thus in such a way that the instant such a reflection of the sage's form appears in my mind, it suits me. So this is also, we would say, a light. One might say this is a what is the word in English? It is a way of Lama Tsongkapa being so Lama Tsongkapa was saying that he was familiar with the Buddha's teaching. So this is a very humble way of saying that he understands the Buddha's teaching. So he's not saying I'm a great exponent of the Buddha's teaching or a great scholar or anything like that. He was saying when I could the instant such a reflection of the sage's form and the voice of the sage, the pristine melody of the sage I hear, this teacher I hear, then it suits me, it suits my mind, just as the moon rays heal fever's pain. So it is understood in ancient India that moon, the rays of the reflection of the moon, the rays of the moon, the moon rays bring coolness, versus the sun rays bring heat. So this excellent system, verse number 46, this excellent system, most marvelous. Some individuals who are not so learned have entangled it into utter confusion, just like the tangled balbaza grass. So this excellent system, meaning the tradition of the Buddha's tradition or the teaching, Buddha's teaching. So people who are not so familiar with this teaching, it could mean, so this is actually in reference to people who profess to be following the Buddha's teaching, but are actually making a mess out of it. So I have entangled it into utter confusion, just like the tangled balbaza grass. So a balbaza grass is a very strong, sturdy grass that is made by, and that's quite common in India. And so therefore it is a very good source of material for the poor, because it's common. So they make baskets and they thatch roof. You might have seen many Indian huts. So they make this out of the balbaza grass. So it's very strong, sturdy, and common as well. So it's made for balbaza, the grass is usually it is entangled, it's tangled and made into baskets and other things. So this is a reference to that. So since the Buddha's teachings are not like that, you cannot make them in, you cannot just entangle them like you are making a basket. It has to be in the right order, and each teaching of the Buddha has to adhere, has to connote with different mental factors and mental disposition and so on and so forth. So if you mix them, then you miss out the big puzzle. Seeing this situation, I strove with a multitude of efforts to follow after the learned ones and sought your intention again and again. So the word used here is intention. It means the deeper meaning of, so what it is referring to is the deeper meaning of the text. So, one might say one thing, but at the same time, your intention might be something else. So always looking for, so Lama Tsongkapa is always striving hard to look for the intended meaning of the Buddha's teaching, whatever he taught. So this is actually the similar to what Master Nagarjuna did. So Nagarjuna was sort of a revolutionary in the sense that not accepting Buddha's teaching merely because Buddha said so. Even though Buddha said that himself during his lifetime, that my followers, the bhikshus and the scholars, one should not follow my teaching just because of out of faith, but should analyze and then study and then so one should accept them after much study and inspection, and not just follow them because out of faith, not just follow them out of faith. You must study them, investigate, analyze them, study them, and then accept it. Don't just follow it out of faith. So even though Buddha said that 2,600 years ago, most scholars sort of ignored or neglected that aspect of the Buddha's teaching. Maybe it was not necessary at that time, but Nagarjuna came at a time when there was a lot of confusion among Buddha's followers, and so therefore it's the right time to what do you call that thing? Stir the pot, right? And he stirred the pot the right way, because if you don't stir the pot, some things have remained uncooked and some things have been overcooked. So it's the right time for Master Nagarjuna to come and stir the pot. And the same thing actually happened, when Lama Tsongkapa came to stir the pot. It was the same thing. There was a lot of confusion. There was a lot of overcooked and uncooked food in the pot, and Lama Tsongkapa has to stir the pot. So Lama Tsongkapa was kind of replicating what Master Nagarjuna did. So in the third line of verse number 47, to follow after the learned ones. So this can be understood as his own immediate teachers, as well as Master Nagarjuna, of whom Lama Tsongkapa is an ardent follower. And sort your intention again and again. At such times, as I studied the numerous works of both our own, which is the middle way, and other schools, my mind became tormented ever more, constantly by a network of doubts. So this again is a humble way of Lama Tsongkapa showing humility. And it also means, it also tells us that if such a great scholar as Lama Tsongkapa has to work that hard, then people like us, we should not be content, because we never study much, and we never investigated, we never put into that much effort into understanding the Buddha's teaching, that alone the intent. So therefore, we should not be content so easily. We should not. So at such times, as I studied the numerous works of both our own and middle way and other schools, my mind became tormented ever more constantly by a network of doubts. So here we can see 47, 48, and 49. First, we learn. Second, we have doubts and we investigate. And then third, we have establishment, or we were able to ascertain what Buddha was teaching. So Lama Tsongkapa was again, even though in the middle line, the middle verse, verse number 48, he was telling us that he has much doubt. But in verse number 49, he says, he was telling us that he is certain of the Buddha's teaching, what the Buddha's intentions were. The night lily grove of Nagarjuna's treatises, Nagarjuna, whom you prophesied, would unravel your unexcelled vehicle as it is, shunning extremes of existence and non-existence. Let me take it to you. Maybe about the change of one of the resolution. So we will follow this up with the second line. Illuminated by the garland of white lights of Chandra. So this is referred to Chandrakriti, Chandra's well-uttered insights. So Nagarjuna wrote the root text of Madhyamika, the root line, which His Holiness taught the other day. And I'm sorry, His Holiness taught the Chandrakriti's Madhyamika Prapar, which is a commentary to the root text of Nagarjuna. Illuminated by the garland of white lights of Chandra's well-uttered insights, Chandra, whose stainless wisdom orb is full, who glides freely across scripture's space. So this, is Lama Tsongkapa acknowledging the quality. Lama Tsongkapa acknowledging the exalted qualities of both Master Nagarjuna's and Chandrakriti's works. So if you remember on our first day of the teaching, we talk about, we talk about a little bit about the history of the Divine Origination teaching. We say there was this great master by the name of Phudön Thamche Khenpa, Phudön, the all-knowing one. And so he is supposed to have, he wrote more than 100 sort of volumes of text. And there was this story that, he would, when he does a Korah, circumambulation, 4 scribes would sit there, and then he would start talking about the 4 tantras. And one Korah, he would recite a line on the Charya Tantra, Action Tantra. Then on the so on the four corners, he would recite different tantric text, and then after he when he completes a Korah, he would have wrote 4 tantric texts. When so this is what he does. So he's such a great scholar. So there was this story. I think you might remember. So one beggar comes to his residence, and the beggar was reciting the teaching, reciting some textbook. So in Tibet, because people are very pious there, so you can get money by reciting Dharma, Tara, praise, and other things. You can say, "Oh, Mani Padme Hum," and people will give you money like that because you are reciting some holy words. So this seems to be a very interesting sort of line, and Phudön Thamche Khenpa stood there listening to the teaching, and he thought, "Oh, this is such a profound teaching. This must be taught by Buddha himself." Then later, when it was talking about when it was such a profound text, but then he heard the text actually extolling the virtues of Buddha's excellent qualities more and more. Then he thought, okay, this is not Buddha, because Buddha will not speak highly of himself like that. And then he thought this must be done by Nagarjuna. And up to this line number 49, he has the idea that the master, the Phudön Thamche Khenpa, Phudön, the all-knowing one, has the idea this must be written by Master Nagarjuna. Then he heard the night lily grove of Nagarjuna's treatises, Nagarjuna whom you prophesied. Then he thought, oh, this is not Nagarjuna. This must certainly be written by one of Nagarjuna's prized devotees, foremost devotees, either Buddha Palita or Chandrakriti or something like that. And by the way, the Buddha Palita predates Chandrakriti. So then came the next line, which says, illuminated by the garland of white light or Chandra's well-uttered insight. Then he was like, okay, this work is not done by Chandrakriti. Then who must it be? And then you will know much later that this was a work done by someone in Tibet. And then at the end of the recitation of this text, Phudön, the all-knowing one, goes to the beggar and gives him food or whatever he needs, and then ask him who wrote this book. And then he said it's Tsongkapa, and he's from the east, Amdo, and he stays in the Uyu Central, and this and that. And then immediately goosebumps. The old Marine one has goosebumps, and he wanted to meet that teacher and went there. So that was the story. So those who have already heard this number of times, and I apologize for repeating it. Now we go to the next line, which is who dispels, verse number 51, who dispels the darkness of extremist hearts and outshines the consolations of false speakers. When through my teacher's kindness I saw this, my mind found a rest at last. So when he was able to get hold of Nagarjuna's treatises, and then that of the Chandrakirti's text, and then through the guidance of his own human and non-human teachers, non-human meaning the divine teacher, which is Manjushri, and the human teacher, which is Lama Umapa, and as well as the Jesurendawa. So he is also recollecting the kindness of his great his kind teachers here, and through them, through the guidance of my teacher, and after being able to get hold of the Nagarjuna's treatises and the Chandrakirti's texts, and through guidance of my great teachers, I'm able to put my mind at rest at last. Then comes verse number 52. So this is extolling the virtues of the speech of the Buddha, because only through the speech of the Buddha, so we talk about Buddha's countless activities, but most activities are like, having a shining, glowing face and things like that. It didn't do much to, it leaves a very positive imprint, strong positive imprint, but then that's it. That's about it. So with the speech, it actually enlightens you, and it enlightens you. It enlightens your mind and brings enlightenment to you. Of all your deeds, your speech is supreme. Within that too, it is this very speech. So the wise should remember the Buddha through this teaching of dependent origination. So in Tibetan, this line is very, very beautiful, very poetic. Zeba kune songini, zeba choin, teani, dini inchi kebai dile sangi jeren chös. So we talk about recollection of Buddha, right? The four recollections: Guru, Buddha, Dhamma, Sangha. So this is the one can recollect the Buddha. One can recollect the Buddha through his recollecting Buddha through his speech would be the most excellent, exalted, supreme form of recollecting the Buddha, or remembering the Buddha, if you like. So the wise should remember. So the word used here in English is remember. So in Tibetan, remembrance, recollecting, reminiscence, they are all same, temba. So we call that the four remembrances, or the four recollections. And so this is in reference to the second recollection or remembrance, which is remembering the Buddha. Through this, following such a teacher and having become a renunciate. So renunciate as a noun is in Tibetan, renunciate as a noun means a monk. It's a synonym for monks. So following such a teacher and having become a renunciate into the order of Buddha's fellowship. So the actual Tibetan line says something like that. So which means following such a teacher and having become a renunciate in your order, having studied the conqueror's words not too poorly. So this is with Lama Tsongkapa being saying that he has here again, he's not being proud. He's saying, I'm not that bad, right? He's not saying I'm so great. He's just saying, I'm not that bad in Buddha's teaching, the Buddha's work. I think I learned some things here and there, right? So he's being modest. He's being modest here again. Having studied the conqueror's words not too poorly, this monk who strives in their yogic practices, so yogic practices, so this can have a very misleading understanding in English, because when you talk about yogic understanding, one could, for a not so familiar into Buddhism, for someone who is not into Buddhism for that long, one might think yoga means the physical yoga, right? And for someone who is superficially into the Buddha Dharma, one might think, okay, this is about tantric practices. Yoga, of course, as you know, means union, right? So this is union has the connotation of unification. So what it actually tells us is that unification of action and speech. In other words, in the very simple English, it is walking the talk. So what Lama Tsongkapa is saying here is that the monk who is striving in the practices of what he preaches. So this is how you should read the third line of verse number 53. So it's nothing to do with, it can have that kind of understanding, but it has nothing to do specifically with tantric yogic practices or that of the yogas, the asanas, the yogas, positions. It can have that sort of connotation too, but the real meaning here means Nenjur Jula Zunbe Gyalongshi. That is the Tibetan word. So Nenjur Jula Zunbe Gyalongshi means the one who is practicing what he is preaching. That is what should be understood here. Because yogic, so the Tibetan word used was Nenjur, and Nenjur means yoga. So the translator has no choice other than to use the precise word. So the wording has to be precise, right? So yogic practice, but yoga has a connotation of unification, and here we are talking about unification of preaching and practices. So the monk who is striving to practice what he is preaching, such is the death of his reverence to the great seer. So this you have to understand again. So here you see the line, such is the death of reverence to the great seer. And the word such is such a profound word here. It's not an ordinary suchness. So such means like this, or such is a word for liking, right? That it is such a great thing means it has a similarization to something. So what it's trying to assimilate here is that Lama Tsongkapa is talking about the fact that he became a renunciate. He became a renunciate, and he studied the Buddha's teaching, and he is not too, and he is not that bad of a student of the Buddha's teachings. And this monk who strives in the yogic practice of following the teachings of the Buddha, such is the depth of my reverence to his reference to the great seer. So Lama Tsongkapa is referring to himself in the third person. So what it does here is that Lama Tsongkapa grew his, it actually has the connotation that Lama Tsongkapa's faith in the Buddha grew out of his understanding of what the Buddha spoke. And this is in Tibetan we call Chögi Jerang Teba. We have the Tebe Jerang and Chögi Jerang, means the faith follower and the Dharma follower. So this is two, normally people have followers, right? Nowadays, in Facebook also, you have, when you become a public figure, you have followers. So in the strictly Dharma sense, there are two types of followers. One is known as faith followers or faithful followers. In other words, followers based on blind faith, he's Buddha, then I'm a follower. That's it, nothing more. Then there is other thing called Dharma follower, Dharmic follower, which means one turns into the follower, one turns into becoming a follower of the Buddha due to his teachings, his Dharma. Dharma here is a reference to the, in the sense of the second gem, Buddha Dharma Sangha. So this is known as, so Lama Tsongkapa is also telling us that he is a dharmic follower of the Buddha, not a blind faith follower of the Buddha. Since it is due to my teacher's kindness, I've met with the teaching of the unexcelled teacher, I dedicate this virtue towards the cause, for all beings to be sustained by sublime spiritual mentors. So this is a very, very profound, great prayer here. You know, it is always through the kindness of our teachers, kind and compassionate and wise teachers, through which we are able to have a slight understanding of this text. So therefore, all the virtues that Lama Tsongkapa gathered, garnered by writing this book, actually he dedicated them to the cause for sentient beings to never be parted away from sublime spiritual mentors. May the teaching of this beneficent one till world's end be unshaken by the winds of evil thoughts, ulterior motives. May it always be filled with those who find conviction in the teacher by understanding the teaching's true nature. So here this is also a reference to the intention of the book. In the sutra, we talk about intention of the book and the intention of the writer of the book. So sometimes the book can say something and the book can mean another thing. And what the book is intending and what the writer of the book is intending can also vary. And so we call that intention of the writer, but not of the book. Intention of the book, but not of the writer, things like that. So one must always find the teaching's true nature, because, for example, like Buddha's true intention, of course, lies. The ultimate intention is, of course, to bring everyone to nirvana or enlightenment. But then also Buddha's viewpoint lies in the prasangika madhyamika point of view. But when Buddha spoke the mind-only text, then the intention of the text lies with the mind-only views. But the intention of the speaker or the writer lies elsewhere. 56 verse, number 56. May I never falter even for an instant to uphold the excellent way of the sage, which illuminates the principle of dependent origination through all my births, even giving away my body and life. So this is also reminiscent of what Buddha did in verse number 41, the beginning of today's session. May I spend day and night carefully reflecting by what means can I enhance this teaching achieved by the Supreme Savior, meaning Buddha, through strenuous efforts over countless eons. This is a very beautiful line. I always love this line, because this tells us that Buddha is not, the Tibetan word is tabaranjung kiwu, which means permanent and naturally arising being. So it tells us that Buddha is not automatic. Buddha has to be cultivated. Buddhahood has to be cultivated. Buddhahood is not something that sprang out of nowhere, out of the blue, right? Buddha achieved that this teaching achieved by the Supreme Savior. As I told earlier, teaching, the speech, has the direct cause of the speech is the omniscient mind. And the cause for the omniscient mind, which is an enlightened quality, lies in the unenlightened causes, which were much sacrifices and penances and practices and so on and so forth. So it means after so much hard work, one becomes a Buddha. And through strenuous efforts over countless eons, this teaching is achieved. this teaching or this speech is achieved by the Supreme Savior. So it didn't come. None of this came out of the blue. As I strive in this with pure intention, may Brahma, the god of gods, Indra, the king of gods, and the so here it says world's guardians. I think I would like to put it worldly guardians. May Brahma, Indra, and the worldly guardians and protectors such as Mahakala unswervingly always assist me. According to the Gelupa tradition, we have the three. There's Kibusum Soma. According to the Gelupa tradition, we have Dhamma protectors, right? And if you don't have a specific Dhamma protector of your own, of your monastery or anything like that, then you can propitiate these three guardians, and those three guardians belong to the small scope, medium scope, and high scope, or large scope, or high scope mental high. So the low scope or small scope mindset, small mindset, medium mindset, and large or high mindset. So we will, let's say, for the large mindset, which is those who subscribe to the Mahayana point of view. These are the Mahayana. Those who subscribe to the Mahayana point of view are known as the large scope, and the protector for the Mahayana, the large scope mindset people, individuals or practitioners, protector for those in the Mahayana path is Mahakala. And so therefore Lama Tsongkapa is requesting Mahakala to protect, to assist him. Unswervingly as always assist me. This hymn entitled Essence of Well-Uttered Insights, praising the unexcelled teacher, the great friend to the entire world. So here, great friend is the translation of the Sanskrit word, which is Kalyan Mitra, or the Sanskrit word for teacher is Kalyan Mitra, which means virtuous friend, someone who pushes you or someone who inspire you into virtuous activities, virtuous practices. That is a true teacher. So just because someone teaches something, he doesn't become a teacher, or teacher in the dharmic sense. Geshe, someone who leads you into the virtuous path, that is a true teacher. And someone, so Kalyan Mitra, a virtuous friend, that is a synonym for a teacher in Sanskrit, dharmic Sanskrit terms. The great friend to the entire world, meaning the great teacher to the entire world. Because what a friend does is always lead, a good friend, a real friend will always lead you away from danger and all sort of pitfalls. So a great teacher, a real teacher, a true teacher will always lead you away from such traps. The great friend to the entire world, even to the unfamiliar, for teaching the profound dependent origination, was composed by the well-read monk Losang Chahwa Bell. It was Bell is a suffix. I don't think you have that in English. In English, it's more like a prefix, like Mr. or something like that. So it's sort of an honorific. In Hindi, you have that in the sense of G, like Ashok G, Kumar G, like that. In Japanese, you have the san, right? Otto-san, Kimoko-san, like that. In Tibetan nowadays, this Pel is turned into, the Pel now has become, Lama Tsongkapa's time, which is 14th century, it is a suffix. Now it has become a prefix, similar to the Pel means the glorious one. And in current Hindi, in current Indian tradition, the Pel, the glorious one, is put in front. as a prefix, just like Mr. So instead of us prefixing Mr. in Hindi, you would say Shui Shui Rinpoche, or if that's a Mrs., then you would say Shui Mati. So nowadays Tibetan use that as in current Tibet, modern Tibetan, we use the pal as a prefix. And during Lama Tsongkapa's time, you see that it is used as a suffix. This also tells us that this is not written by Lama Tsongkapa, right? Because he is using an honorific term here. It was written at the heavenly retreat of Lading. So heavenly retreat is nothing to do with heaven here. It's actually a reference to Lhasa, the capital of Tibet. And Lhasa means the abbot of God. So heavenly retreat of Lading on the towering mountain of Wadi Kongel, otherwise known as Ganden Nambar Ling. The scriber was Namkapel. So yeah, I think that's. Oh, okay. We went a little bit far. I think that concludes the teaching, the whole text. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. So any questions, any reflections, whatever, you're welcome to ask.
I was going to say thank you so much. This was incredible. I'm trying to reread and listen and rewrite it. But I had one quick question. So thank you for doing this one out of the two that you gave us. You were extremely good, and I would consider buying a book with this, what you have told us. It was so well versed. You mentioned that dependent origination was the king of reasons, and you mentioned it had ministers, but did we, either I missed the ministers or?
Oh yeah, sure. Right. I remember telling you that, I think that was during our third or second sessions, and then I never followed that up.
I understand if it takes too long, if we can't cover it, that's fine. I could just maybe read about it somewhere else.
Right. So let me just read out the what do you call that? The name list. I don't know where I put it. Oh yeah, okay, I have it there. So this is in the reasoning. So we have we usually have in the mode of reasoning according to Buddhism. Let's say mode of reasoning according to the Nalanda tradition. Mode of reasoning according to the Nalanda tradition, which was pretty much started by Acharya Dignag and others. Maybe it actually predates him even. So it has a nuances of what we call the materialistic Buddhism, but it still is used to establish and negate ideas. So in that sense, you have the one thing you have to understand is that we have the Pak and Jushi and Sewa, which means in order to become a logical reasoning vis-a-vis versus illogical reasoning, logical reasoning has to have a topic, a point. There's a topic that there has to be a point, and there has to be a topic, and there has to be a point to make, and then there has to be a reasoning to back up the point that you are making. So the first thing is called, the topic is called Zushi, and the point you are making is called Sewa. And then and the backing of the backing of the point you're making, the logical reasoning that you are making to back up the point that you are making is known as Ta. So all these has to synthesize if they do not synthesize, then this will become an illogical reasoning, or it will become irrational in a sense, irrational in the sense of Nalanda tradition, Nalanda epistemological tradition. So in that sense, there are several, in order to impute or in order to establish the understanding of Dambar Matuba, which is the non-existence or negation, let's say, negation of truly existent phenomena. So the first one is known as Chikbutel, which is, this is known as the analysis of the essence or negation, negation of the essence of inherent existence, and that is in Chikbutel Tenzig, Chikbutel logic. In English, it can be understood as separation of the singularity and multiplicity. So this is, so simply put, this is to say, let's take one thing for example. So the topic, we need a topic. The topic is the rosary. The rosary is the topic, and what we are trying to point out is that the rosary is not an inherently existing phenomena. So this is the point we are making, and it has to be backed up by sound logic, and which is we call ta, that reasoning. And the reasoning we put is that this rosary is not inherently existing phenomena because, so we have three things, right? This rosary is not inherently existing phenomena. And then we have the third one, because it is not an inherently existing phenomena separately on its own or in its multiplicity, meaning if you on its own it's not a it is if this rosary is inherently existing phenomena, then it has to be an inherently existing phenomena by its own, on its own, or by other methods. So by other methods, it becomes a there would be multiple methods. So either through multiple methods or by its own singularity, it is not inherently existing phenomena. And then you can go, this can grow into branches and branches and branches. Why it is not singularly inherently existing phenomena? Why it is not a multiplicity inherently existing phenomena? This can go on and on. It can branch out so many we call or branch reasoning. So it can go like that. So this is the first one, the separation of singularity and multiplicity. It doesn't exist on its own inherent. It does not. The rosary does not exist. The rosary is not an inherently existing phenomena because it is not an inherently existing phenomena on its own or with other methods. Separation of singularity and multiplicity. The first one. This actually shreds all the essence of inherently existing phenomena for this rosary. Now the second one we use, this is called analysis of the causal forces. This is the Dulachura. So we negate the inherent nature of the rosary by shredding its causes, because all phenomena, all incorporated phenomena has cause and condition, comes from cause and condition. So the causes of this phenomena, it does not come from an inherently existing cause. You know what I mean? So it does not come from it does not come from an inherently existing cause. It does not bring forth any inherently existing effects, and so on and so forth. This is how you analyze that. That is called the nails, the nails of adamantine. So an adamantine, or the Tibetan term used was Vajra. So adamantine is a very strong metal that can, it's almost impossible to break. So nails of adamantine will never break away. The more you hammer it onto the inherently existing phenomena, the reasoning will stay and the inherently existing phenomena will shatter. The second is called the analysis of the variables. So if something is inherently existing, then is it inherently existing during its causes time? Because it has to exist at some point, right? So is it exist? So this rosary is existing. This rosary is not inherently existing phenomena because it is not inherently existing phenomena in the past, in the present, in the future, like that. This is how we do it. And then the fourth one is known as annulment of the fourfold probabilities. The fourfold probability is the one that I just spoke. The previous one is according to the analysis of the cause and conditions. So when you check whether it is existing in its past, we are analyzing the rosaries existing as an inherent phenomena during its causes time, because that is the past. And when we analyze the existence, the possibility of the rosary in its future, then we are analyzing it in the effects time frame. Effect and sense of cause and effect, the resultant time frame. And then we have the then we have the annulment of the analysis of the two, annulment of the creation of existent and non-existent phenomena. So these are all known as the minister or the lower forms of reasoning to negate, to repudiate the establishment or affirmation of inherent existent phenomena. The repudiation of affirmation of inherently existing phenomena, because they are only cutting the limbs, not the corpus, not the whole thing. With the king of logic, which is the dependent origination. So we say, so that this is how we use the king of reasoning. For example, this rosary, this external force, this external material known as rosary is not an inherently existing phenomena. This external material known as rosary is not an inherently existing phenomena because it is dependently originating phenomena. So what happens here is this: in other forms, the negation actually clears out every possibility of existence of inherent existence. So we're not talking just in the academic sense here. When someone actualizes these reasonings, these logics, the limb logics, then one can actually negate, one can actually clear out the grasping of inherent existence to a certain point. But what happens is there's also the danger, the threat of negating everything out. So, for example, you are thinking, you are negating the inherent existence. You are negating the inherent nature of this rosary. But when you actualize this, not just talk about this in the intellectual sense, but you actualize this with the limb reasoning, the reasoning of the branch reasoning or the limb reasonings. What happens is you will negate everything, even the existence of, not just the existence of the inherent nature of the rosary, but also what we call the ordinary conventional existence of the rosary as well. That is also, this could also happen. And for rosary, it doesn't really matter, right? But let's say we negate the existence of law of causality, karma. Then that's a big thing. It becomes a big thing. You meditate on the emptiness of Buddha and Buddhahood, through the limb reasonings. And then you are able to eliminate. You are able to eliminate all forms of grasping on the existence of the inherent nature of the Buddha. Not just that, you are somewhat able to negate the existence of the Buddha even, or the Buddhahood even. No more Buddha, there's no more Buddha, there's no more. So emptiness becomes nothingness. More than that, emptiness becomes nothing. When the ness part is very strong. In Tibetan we say Tongba Nit. Ni is a suchness. There's a suchness here. It is not total negation. But when you use the previous limp reasoning, there is when you actualize this in the with meditation, not just intellectual sense. When you actualize them, then there's the danger of one crossing the standardization of spiritual practices, which means it goes from emptiness of the Buddhahood, emptiness of the Buddha, to empty nothingness of the Buddhahood. There's no such thing as Buddhahood. No, Buddhahood is not there. And also it can come to yourself. Like if you visualize emptiness of yourself, the emptiness can turn into empty. So the difference here with the reason king of the dependent origination is regarded as king of logic is because everything is emptiness. Everything has this rosary is not an inherently existing phenomenon. It doesn't stop there because it is dependently originating. So there is a process of structure, constructing. It's not deconstructing alone. In all previous forms of reasoning, it's always deconstructing. Nothing. Now here, nothing, but something. There's a deconstruction of everything that is inherently existing, but then the construction of conventional phenomena is rebuilt. So therefore, the pitfall of what we call the lower extreme, which is total non-existent. This is we are protected from this aspect. That's why it's called the king of logics. I'm sorry, I spoke quite long.
No, that was excellent. Thank you so much. Please live long and continue to teach the Dharma.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much.
I just have a quick announcement before we close. Rinpoche, thank you so much for imparting your excellent commentary on this precious text to us. If anybody would like to show gratitude to Rinpoche for his kindness and hard work by making a donation to him, I just posted a link in the chat so that you guys might be able to do so. If you need the link again, contact Gloria. I'll post her email in there too. And thank you everybody so much for attending these teachings and supporting them. Thank you all. Thank you so much.
Rinpoche, can I add one thing, Rinpoche?
Please go on.
I'm sorry, Sufal. I just want to say personally from the bottom of my heart, recently I took refuge vows, and it was as you can imagine, a Western practitioner. It was a long journey. My journey began at 12, and it's an interdependent journey, as we know, which relies on the capacity of great teachers and masters. And I also want to make a point to any Western practitioners that are new, that what you've offered, that teachers of great capacity are fewer and farther between, harder to find. You can go far and wide. We've been so blessed here, and I want to really impart, because there's such a deluge on the internet. These are truly authentic teachings. We are blessed. I feel like through Dalai Lama and through Khenpo Rinpoche, it was only through their blessing through Buddha himself that you began with the Heart Sutra today. that you have corrected and cultivated our wisdom through correct right view and opened our hearts during very delicate and confusing times. So please, to anyone who's a Western practitioner, to know to please hold these teachings in your heart, and please return to us perhaps in 7 weeks to teach the 37 deeds of a Bodhisattva, but we'll be waiting for you when you are ready.
Sure. Thank you so much. Thank you everyone for attending the teaching. I mean, I know I go on and on and on, and I do digress a lot, always digressing from the core points, and I apologize for that. But you have been very patient, and all of you have been attending the teaching from day one to today. I don't know how many months it has been, but I really thank you from the bottom of my heart for listening. So for paying, for giving us your time, giving me. For giving me your ears, not just ears, but your mind and heart here, because you just can't listen to it. You have to put your mind into it, and then you have to apply this into your practices. So giving me your ears, your brains, and your heart. So I really, really appreciate that. And this, as it went, we just read from Tsongkapa's teaching. This is how we could enhance the Buddha's teaching. That's how we do it. And talking about enhancement. I think you already know this, but there is His Holiness will be teaching this very same text on for 3 days, from 4th to 6th of August. So there will be a live cast, and of course it will be there will be English translation. So you can go. You can have I don't know what you call this thing. Those of you who are interested and also have the time, the leisure of time to do so, can listen to his teachings, and so I just want to highlight that. And I really, really thank you so much from the bottom of my heart for listening, because the reason, I'm not trying to denigrate others, but we're not doing. It is a strenuous class. When I lead a Dharma talk, it is quite strenuous. For me to listen to my own talk, I think that would be quite a task. So I know it is very hard. It is strenuous for you, but still, all of you have persevered and listened to this talk, and it means you really wanted to know the Dharma in depth. And so, therefore, for that, I really, really have much praise. I am very impressed. And then I'm very impressed by your efforts, endeavor, and perseverance. And for that, Lama Tsongkapa himself said, which is small walk, big profit. The small work and big profit. For that, rejoice is the best. So I really rejoice in your interest in the Dharma, and that through this, I think there are many people who will be watching this later on, and I hope this will be a small sapling of positive imprint. We will leave a dependent origination to their mind to understand the truth of the Dharma. So I conclude here. Thank you very much. Let's say a prayer for Changju Semjo Rinpoche, which is that all those who have not been able to generate bodhicitta and the wisdom of interdependency be able to do so, and those who have already done so be able to enhance it to the farthest of the universe, to the farthest corner of the universe. Changju Semjo Rinpoche, my dear Panam Gejurichi, Geva Nyamba Meva Yang Konya Kondo Pewa Show, Tony Tawa Rinpoche, my dear Panam Gejurichi, Geva Nyamba Meva Konya Kondo Pewa Show. Mixing my one time. We will do the 5-line one. yin Tsongkapa lo zan chai be shai lai soi mai lo zan chai be shai lai soi. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Rinpoche.
Thank you so
Thank
much.
you.
Thank you so much. Tutushe.
Thank you.
Thank you. Return soon.